See a second turret dive of the game in only 6 minutes.
42's in a little bit of trouble here.
Pieman finds stun directly on the so we call that one right. Hook back onto his Pieman. Huddy Sam will find the return kill. Can he stay alive though? The exhaust goes down, but it's going to randomly execute onto a Spinchies. I didn't think he was going to take enough turret damage, but didn't take any of his own, and all the turrets work will mean that an execute. So 2 for 2 trade, but an execute already heading the favor of the guys on the side of 5 Kids 1 Funky Dream.
And we also have the mid lane looked at again by both junglers potentially.
They want it.
They want
Fire's actually countered them. She's stealing away those raptors.
Yeah, and we
she's
see
seen the previews coming out for the next Jurassic Park movie. Doesn't want those raptors live too long.
But looks like the mid lane action will just fizzle out. But yeah, we saw the power of those early towers, of course. Sin of Sloth started taking those early tower hits, which meant that the tower had some time to ramp up in damage. And although you know that towers, they ramp up in damage as they continue hitting the same person. And that mostly resets as it changes targets, but only partially. So of course, when Spinchies took the tower aggro there, he already had some ramped up tower shots. So that tower was doing a lot of damage and managed to, I believe, 3 hit him at level 4. So
yeah, I think
you got to be really careful with those early tower dives just because they do so much damage.
And we're seeing this Callista build focus as well, going on towards that Renon's Hurricane. Casco Nyan might actually find a kill up towards top lane. Hectox has to be careful. And we were just chatting with him before the game. I think I've played a game against Heck in the top lane. I may have punished him with Jax, and that might be why he's bringing it out.
Yeah. But you mentioned the early Runon's Hurricane. Oh, we've got an ult from Spingy.
Oh, there it is. The Callista's ult's going to come down again.
Oh,
Tibbers, and 42's in trouble once again. The hook is on towards Tibbers, and there's the Ren coming out from Spinchies. He's going so well already. 2-1-0. Ostrich actually doing some decent damage towards Casta in that mid lane, but it's a little bit late for that bot lane, and that is going to be a big Callista come mid.
Yeah, of course, we see the level differences. Both level 6 in the bot lane for 5 Kids 1 Funky Dream, whereas 2 level 5s on the Blitzcrank Caitlyn. And
oh, mid lane, Ostrich is looking for it. Won't follow through with all 3 charges of Spirit Rush, but will do enough damage to force Casson off and away. He's going to look to run towards the bottom lane, and Rengar's already down here.
yeah, so of course, Pick Pieman and Spingy's both full health, so they're not going to be in too much trouble. And of course, they've got quite a lead now, 70 CS to 39 for Spingy's over 42. So, you know, this bot lane having quite a bit of trouble, and we'll have to see whether they try to help them catch up, and that looks like it's what's going to happen.
Uh-oh! Bit top lane now goes the unstoppable force, the last of Catsko's Yarn's mana, and there's the ground slam as well coming in from Vi. Jax will hop away, not sure if he's going to be able to live through this one though. Another rock. Cheese will go on towards him. The snare coming in from Rengar will land on towards Spinchies. They will pick up that kill with the assist coming in from that beautiful rocket grab from Honey-san. And you mentioned it, he might actually play this one quite well. And there's 4 members towards the bottom side of the map. They know Vi has no ultimate on towards the top side. This could be an early Drake, and this could be the turning point that throws things back in the favor of the guys on the side of Legacy of Belfort.
But the Pick Pieman and Eric are looking to stop this if they can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very low. Will be picked up, and now here comes the fight. 42's in trouble, actually. Brings is going to be the first one that goes down. Pick Pieman now trying to dive in. Rush running Ari away. Jax is teleported on the backside. 2 kills now for our red side. Eric's in trouble. Will get hit by another shot from that Caitlyn, rifle. And it is going to be a 2 for 2 trade. Dragon in favor without the smite coming through from II Brinks to the guys on the side of Legacy of L4. So a nice advantage picked up for themselves, and a little bit of gold back in their pocket as well.
Yeah, I very much like that call from the Legacy of L4. Just a good team coordination. They knew that Vi was at the top side and that they had a 3v4 advantage on the bottom side of the map, and they'd also managed to pick up a kill on Spingy's, making it a 4v2. And so they pretty much busted the Dragon by the time any backup arrived from 5 Kids 1 Funky Dream. And by the time the backup had arrived, they finished off the Dragon, and they were able to turn teamfight and go fairly even in a teamfight as well. So being I believe they went 3 for 2, in fact.
No, it
maybe
was two for two.
No, it was two for two.
It's definitely 2 for 2.
An even team fight, and Dragon on top of that. They'll take that any day of the week.
Absolutely, Katskunyan trading with Hector immediately up in that top lane. Sin of Sloth only found that pink ward earlier, came back to clear that one out. Knew he had to go for the Dragon. Didn't quite get there in time, but he will come back for that pink ward. And it's time to mention, I mean, Malphite potentially could have teleported in on towards that Dragon fight and maybe turn the tides of battle, really turn that one around. He would not have had Unstoppable Force, and I think a key turning point as well would have been that Sin of Sloth had no Assault and Battery either.
Yeah, so
there's the Unstoppable Force on the Wazoji Hector, and Sin of Sloth cleans that one up. Rampage indeed. Byman's in towards this mid lane as well, and some really, really nice roams coming out from the guys on the side of 5 Kids, 1 Funky Dream.
Yeah, and you mentioned that teleport potential. I'm not exactly sure how much vision control they had of the area. I'm pretty sure that ward that we can see in the Dragon Kit was only placed during the fight. Potentially that pink ward could have been teleported too, but he couldn't really get into the fight, as you mentioned, without that Unstoppable Force. But we've got some action in the top lane, potentially.
Yep, absolutely. A little bit of poking go down towards the bottom lane. This turret is on the verge of falling. Great jump on towards Cat going down. Will eat the true damage portion of the Order of Deception, but that is going to be it. Malphite picks himself up a turret, and that's a nice advantage picked up for the guys on the side of 5 Kids, 1 Funky Dream. Rengar is going to go hopping in. He's going to have a snare up in just a second or a heal, whichever he decides for. But those are definitely two, in my mind, the better 2 options in way of Rengar fully stacks on those Fury. What are your thoughts? Is Q really an option?
Yeah, it definitely is an option if you're in a very close range.
Down towards the bottom lane, this road that comes out. Pink Pieman's looking for a stun. We'll find him with the 10 minutes. He saw someone's 42. Goodbye, sir. You are out of here. Pink Man's in trouble though from that turret. Sin of Sloth now in trouble from Ostrich V. Will Ostrich V have enough damage to find this kill? Yes, the 3rd charge of Spirit Watch will finally clean that one up. Huddy San lives with a sliver of health in towards the bottom lane. And now Cassidy is down here as well. Well, at least Ostrich, you're going to get a blue buff, but that's about it. Eric is holding Huddy San at bay, and this will be a 2nd turret of the game. And things are already starting to go snowballing into that Funky Dream.
Yeah, that bot lane for 5 Kids, 1 Funky Dream definitely doing very, very well for themselves and getting a good early snowball in. I just want to point out, I really like what Ostrich did in that duel against Sin of Sloth there. He tried to use his Spirit Rush to get in front of Vi, and that's a very good thing to do when you're trying to chase down a Vi, because she can use that Vault Breaker to get away, and if you can get in front of her, you can interrupt that. But it looks like we've got Ostrich coming down into this bot lane now.
Oh, flash and great! Perfect on the spinches. He's got no ultimate this time. He's permanently dead. They're going to donate that one over to 42. He needs some gold on the Caitlyn being so far behind. He'll finally pick that one up. Unfortunately, not a shutdown for him. He would like to shut down, but 1 kill down, and they're going to look for this turret. They definitely need something in response.
Almost definitely, but Sin of Sloth is heading towards this bottom lane, so I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to stick around to get it. Looks like he's backing off, actually, heading towards Ostrich in this mid lane, potentially. Ostrich is going to be in trouble here.
Yeah, absolutely. Sin of Sloth goes down with the Assault and Battery. Smite as well. Ignite is there. Flash away won't mean anything for Ostrich. He's going to explode. And Caston and Vi now making their own. So they got Catsko and Yarn early in this top lane. And talking about Catsko and Yarn, another cheese wheel's going to go on. There's the Assault and Battery, another ground slam. Hector's going to try and leap onto that ward. He's got the flash, but the cheese wheel will be up in just a second. There it is. It's going to clean that one up for Catsko and Yarn. Almost saved on the side of Hectox by the turret shield, but not quite enough. If you give him another 100 units or so, he might have actually lived through that one, but not so today.
Yeah, so a bit unfortunate there for Hectox. He's just in a little bit of trouble, actually. Fairly behind. He's been really focused. We've seen Sin of Sloth up in that top lane pretty much the first 2 or 3 times that Assault and Battery was up, and nabbing a kill every time. He's been really feeling those big hands of Sin of Sloth, so he's just having a bit of trouble, and they really want to make sure that this Jax does not get a free chance to scale into late game. He's going to have to really work for it. And an interesting build coming out of Catsko and Yarn, going for that Zhonya's Hourglass rush by the looks of things. I'm interested. I'm not exactly like we've seen AP Malphites occasionally, but Huddy-san in a little bit of trouble. No, he's just going to get away. So AP Malphite with a Zhonya's Hourglass rush.
Is this potentially to aid the mid-game dragon fight combo?
I must admit, I don't really know why the Zhonya's Hourglass over a, potentially other AP item. I guess often AP Malphite used to go Deathfire Grasp, which is no longer an option, but we've got a bit of a dragon
Eric's
fight.
coming in here, and down comes the On the Hunt ultimate from II, brings it, trying to control this dragon. Will leap on towards someone. Smite goes down early. It's going to be Dragon Slain by Red Side. That's the importance of this next fight. Eric's in trouble. Will be taken down now. Sin of Sloth is going to be the next one, almost a fall, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Jax is already gone. Hectox is in trouble. Ostrich dives deep into the fight, but look at the damage coming out from Spinji's. Great fight by him. He's going to pick himself up a Blitzcrank. It's finally Assault and Battery. Clean that one up, and look what a Runan's Hurricane can do for you when the enemy team clusters up like that. Great kiting from Spinji's will clean up that fight. Malphite to pick up the dragon, and that one was important to that fight as well, that dragon.
Yeah, most definitely. Managing to pick up that dragon gave them a few extra stats in the fight. In fact, in Season 5, so dragon fights in previous seasons, getting the dragon doesn't actually matter in previous seasons because it was just a bunch of gold that you weren't able to spend. Now in Season 5, when the dragon actually gives you a buff immediately, picking up that dragon just before a fight starts, you get a few extra stats which can actually make quite a difference in that fight, and I feel like in that fight that we just saw, those extra stats from the dragon actually made a fair difference. I'm not sure whether it was enough to completely turn the fight, but we saw a fairly clean 5-0, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I don't think that they would have been able to pass that up without the extra stats from the dragon. But of course, the big thing that made a difference in that fight, as you mentioned, was Spinji's with that Runan's Hurricane. He does also now have the the Rend maxed. So I've seen a few different Callista builds, but we've got a little bit of fight in the river potentially. No, that's just going to fizzle out. So, Huddy Sand's in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Spinji's just got eyes on. He's forced him to try and run through the trouble. Out comes that Callista ultimate dead. Huddy Sand, 42 is in trouble as well. Don't try and flash away from the Cassidy unless you got some way of dealing with it. They're trying to as hard as they can. And Catsko Nyan, he wants to get in there as well with that ultimate, but they're not quite able to do that just yet. Callista ultimate down, but Blitzcrank as well. And for me, Huddy Sand's been the real major important factor so far for the Legend of Elfwood.
Yeah, so Huddy Sands had some fairly good hooks, but unfortunately getting a little bit caught out there, so they will be rewarded with a free tower for 5 Kids, 1 Funky Dream, and looks like they're just going to try and get some pressure in this jungle. You can see they've already got quite a number of wards in this red side jungle. Oh, a nice Tibbet.
Forget that. Down comes the combo from Pieman, and Eric was looking to follow that one up on towards Hectox as he got stunned as well, but 42 gone, and there's always seems to be one member dead when the guys on the side of 5 Kids, 1 Funky Dream find their combo and make it work.
Yeah, so you mentioned in Champion Select so much AoE coming out from 5 Kids, 1 Funky Dream, and they're just executing so well here. Constantly just bursting and popping people all over the map.
Something to point out that this Callista build does have is a bunch of wave clear from the side of Spinji's. We'll be able to wave clear and definitely put a lot of threat on towards the turrets, and they can do that in 2 little groups like they currently are. Spinji's